calls to be vigilant during pandemic. Expert says country needs to train more specialists. And border communities visited. Welcome, this is Sunday's News. I'm Charmaine Poreambe. Papua New Guinea has now a total of 459 confirmed coronavirus cases. 6 new cases were recorded in the National Capital District in the last 24 hours. The 6 new cases include a 52-year-old health worker, 1 student and 1 teacher who are from different schools. Of the 6 cases, 3 are male and 3 female. Also, only 2 of these cases were symptomatic. Furthermore, these 6 cases were among the 307 samples that were collected in the 5 health clinics and testing sites in NCD in the past week. Schools in Alotau Urban LLG will resume classes tomorrow after a 2-week suspension following the first COVID-19 case in Milimbe province. In a circular released from the Provincial Education Department, all schools not in Alotau Urban will observe temporary break from September 28 to October 2nd as per the 2020 academic calendar.
The first COVID-19 case in Milimbe is an 18-year-old grade 11 female student from Cameron Secondary who had no records of recent travel outside of Alotau. Provincial Controller Ashon Numa, in a statement, said the indexed case was put on a 14-day incubation period under observation but showed no signs of infection. As samples collected for second testings returned negative. However, schools in Alotau Urban have been advised to continue practice COVID-19 measures. Since the first confirmed COVID-19 case reported in Milimbe on August 18th, 163 samples were collected as part of the province's contact tracing. Tests were conducted at the PNG Institute of Medical Research in Goroka and all the results returned negative. However, improper packaging of 8 samples resulted in spillage, and Provincial Controller Numa said these samples need to be retested. While the 163 samples returned negative, Provincial Controller Numa said they are confident there is no need for alarm and are reopening classes for schools in the province. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape has warned citizens to be conscious of the COVID-19 transmission rate. Speaking in Parliament during the August session, PM Marape gave assurance of the National Operations Centre working with provincial health authorities to clamp down on the virus spreading. With the country into stage 4 of the community transmission, the Prime Minister noted the struggles of the health system coping with the pandemic. So far, 11 provinces have confirmed cases with more test samples under screening.
You may not got capacity to handle him, and we tried our absolute best to be defensive in the first place. But we've now, you may move finish going long stage 4 long coronavirus in our country, which established there's community transmission. So plenty we play clear, we play work one time more provincial health authorities, long talking more to be sensitive. If there is an increasing trend of cough and illness that may look like COVID-19, we will zero in and do tests, establish whether I have COVID-19 or not. Currently, 11 provinces in our country even got presence of COVID-19 stabilities. But those that have not been showing up as COVID-19 presence, me as I speak, do not have the luxury of being 100% certain whether they do not have COVID-19 or not. All simply because testing have been asked to be carried out, but in some of these provinces, the PHAs are not doing testing, and the results haven't come back in. But as we speak today, 11 provinces got presence for COVID-19.
It is critical to train more animal health workers in the Pacific region as COVID-19 highlights the health risk between animals and humans and its devastating effects to economies. PNG's very own Dr. Tatiana Ariori, who recently graduated from Charles Sturt University, will be working closely with the university and colleagues throughout the Pacific to develop a sustainable para-vet curriculum in the region aimed at increasing the number of animal health workers. While working with PNG's National Agriculture and Quarantine Inspection Authority, Dr. Tatiana Ariori will be in a better position to contribute to a DFED-funded 3-year program aimed at training animal health workers in the Pacific. Speaking to us via Zoom prior to her returning to PNG, Dr. Ariori, who recently graduated from Charles Sturt University, said there is a need in this area as the Pacific faces more global challenges of animal to human virus transmissions.
It's called the Pacific Para-Vet Training Project, and they are focused on, building a curriculum for para-veterinarians, one that is sustainable and feasible, for the target audience. Their focus is not just in PNG, but also for other Pacific Island countries. That project is focused on animal health capacity building because in the Pacific there we don't have a lot of veterinarians, and the paravets, the animal health officers, are the ones on the ground doing the job, and supporting that is what we need in terms of animal health service delivery at the moment.
The Australian Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFAT, awarded Charles Sturt University $1 million Australian to lead this 3-year program of training animal health workers. According to Australia's Research for Agriculture, experts from the university will be working with government-run animal health authorities and educators in the Asia-Pacific region to strengthen the capacity to detect, respond, control, and prevent animal disease outbreaks that could affect human health, animal health, and farmer livelihoods. Meanwhile, Dr. Ariori believes more support should be given to PNG students pursuing veterinarian science. Thanks to the Australian Award Scholarship, she was able to successfully complete her 6 years of studies.
I think there should be a lot more, support for students to pursue the degree because African swine fever, coronavirus, and there's an important relationship between animal and human health, and not just, that aspect, but also for developing our agriculture sector as well. And I think it is an area that needs a lot of support. It takes 6 years or plus or minus just to train one veterinarian, and if we could have a lot more financial support into training a lot more veterinarians, that would be fantastic.
The Eastern Highlands Province's vast land area borders several other provinces, including Gulf. Locals in the rural Okapa district rely on the Purari River, and it is one of the remotest areas in the province. For years, services into the area have been lacking, and locals say they have been neglected by successive governments.
You're looking at the Purari River, the country's third largest, which runs through the Gulf province. But this, however, isn't just a waterway used by the Gulf people, it's also used by the Eastern Highlanders. While the boundaries on maps show that this village is in Gulf, the east bank of the Purari River is where the Eastern Highlands province ends, and the west is where the Gulf province begins.
Now, Mipla sharing customer lane boundaries below Mipla, or the people belong Gulf, Broncho Gaman,
Subuwan village is one of the villages located along the east bank of the Purari River, and it is part of the Okapa district's East Okapa LLG. Since independence, services into the area have been lacking. With no roads, the only way in or out is by air and water transport.
Me finding service.
During a visit by Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu, locals expressed that they have been neglected by successive governments and they need basic services.
Mr. Labusse, no one helping me. No kan man help me law. Kini nim putis la pus.
And do like looking too. All schools below Mipla, yet also elementary schools, primary schools, high schools, secondary schools, technical colleges, now other basic government services, also airports, clinics, health center, or big hospitals.
In response, Governor Numu announced that the Eastern Highlands Provincial Government has several projects that will be delivered to these areas.
And number one, and by school. And lo inside lo station by school staff. Number two, Milak announcing lo you plan also. Iba got 8 posts by staff. How sick?
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Goroka.
The Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu visited remote villages in his province on Friday to identify impact communities of the Papua LNG project. Mr. Numu visited Subuwan and Paiti in Okapa district and the Kilmari in the Obura Wananara district. He was accompanied by landowner representatives of these remote communities.
Friday's visit involved an aerial inspection to confirm that Subuwan, Paiti and Kilimari are geographically part of the Eastern Highlands. This is in light of the Papua LNG project, which is said to also run through the Eastern Highlands through these remote areas. Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu told the people of Subuwan, Kilmari and Paiti that he would make sure they are included in benefit shares.
But me no like him nar plamando kurungitim ed blow people blow me na kisim ground blow na to game blow this lap me blow galp or me blow this lap abnoka me must come to protect people blow me blow.
According to landowners, Subuwan is said to be the impact area within Petroleum Retention License 15, while Paiti and Kilmari are said to be buffer zones.
I will escape now by including Kilmari village, what a Shubo. I come up and side you look Paiti, I had to become inside ground me place for them. So there's all big people all impact projects from place staff.
Mr. Numu's visit to these remote communities is a move towards pushing the Eastern Highlands provincial government's agenda to be a stakeholder in the Papua LNG project.
If you want to do that, if you want to do drilling or you want to do a separate project, PDL, give me a separate PRL, a PDL for Eastern Highlands Province.
Charlene Airy, National EMTV News, Goroka.
Papua New Guinea adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development to achieve the country's Vision 2050. The Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015 to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. Papua New Guinea now has a climate response roadmap for Sustainable Development Goal 13 on climate action. The roadmap presents 30 major and important actions that the country will implement from now to 2030 in responding to climate change.
Good evening, viewers. I'd like to especially mention and thank the Honorable Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, Honorable James Marape, for accepting our invitation to be part of the virtual launching of this milestone event this evening. Viewers, we must recognize that the environment and the economy go hand in hand, and that ambitious climate actions will protect the environment. Papua New Guinea is recognized as being particularly vulnerable to climate change. This high level of vulnerability results from a combination of potentially significant levels of climate change impacts and low levels of adaptive capacity. The Asian Development Bank's report, titled "Economics of Climate Change in the Pacific," states that economic impacts of climate change will likely be more severe in Papua New Guinea than in any other Pacific nation. Impacts will occur across sectors, primarily agriculture, infrastructure, mining, and health. Viewers, Most Papua New Guineans rely on subsistence agriculture. More than 80% of the population lives in rural areas as subsistence agricultural farmers. Whilst the effects of climate change won't be the same across all of Papua New Guinea, each region will face significant impacts on their infrastructure, health, food supply, and industries. Papua New Guinea must take urgent action to prepare for the impending impacts of climate change. Viewers, the Climate Change Response Roadmap was developed by the government in partnership with the United Nations Development Program Country Office with the goal of coordinating across sectoral, efficient and responsible development that is measurable and practically achievable. The roadmap is for all citizens of Papua New Guinea, addressing women, children from different settings in the remote and urban communities, and stakeholders across sectors from agriculture to mineral resources, policymakers, and the private sector. This roadmap will be used to guide actions for real and practical interventions that are needed to increase resilience to climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Such progress, however, will not be possible without strong partnerships and investment. And I call upon my good stakeholder agencies, international partners, and private sector bodies to work with us in this endeavor. The Climate Change and Development Authority is currently working in collaboration with our partners and cross-sectoral agencies. I therefore truly believe that the 30 by 30 actions of the climate roadmap will help to achieve our national development goals in line with climate actions and contribute to the green growth of our beautiful country. Thank you all for watching, and God bless you all.
Good evening, viewers watching this program all over Papua New Guinea. It is with great pleasure to be here to officiate the launch of Papua New Guinea's Sustainable Goal 13 Roadmap, an empowering response to challenges and opportunities posed by the climate change. Before I proceed, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Honorable Minister Wera Mori, Minister for Environment and Climate Change, and the Climate Change Development Authority, who have worked tirelessly to push climate adaptation and mitigation efforts across Papua New Guinea and internationally. Papua New Guinea recognizes the enormous challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. That 2030 is approaching fast, and Papua New Guinea, as the biggest economy in the Pacific, must lead by example. Papua New Guinea's environmental and climate change legislative framework is quite innovative and dynamic. It guides our domestic action to promote a climate resilient agenda as we move forward towards achieving economy-wide reductions. At present, I note that the Climate Change Management Act 2015 is undergoing review to align with the Paris Agreement and the revisions of Papua New Guinea's national determined contributions, I beg your pardon. Building on the progress in the country's commitment by taking action on climate change, Papua New Guinea had taken steps by translating the ambitions articulated in the 2030 agenda into tangible outcomes for our people by integrating the SDGs into our national visions and policies. Last month, I did presented the voluntary national review of the independent state of Papua New Guinea on the implementation of the 2030 development agenda and the sustainable development goals. That was the country's first national review process, which involved all sectors and the general public. Today I stand here to present the Sustainable Development Goal number 13 roadmap, which I spoke of under SDG 13 progress. The roadmap presents the 30 major actions that the country will take by 2030 to respond to climate change. Using the Sustainable Development Goal as a framework, the roadmap aims to achieve the objectives set out in the country's medium-term development plan number 3. Viewers, this roadmap focuses on climate governance, energy, forestry, agriculture, infrastructure, fisheries, tourism, biodiversity, conservation, and health. Without this roadmap, there will be no immediate and tangible action to achieve the objectives and targets set out in the medium-term development plans. The cost incurred in this country by climate change is enormous, and the available resource that we have in the country to address climate change is very minimal. The emphasis on having the United Nations SDG 1330 by 30 roadmap is that all responsible sectors of government will have to take ownership to drive those actions. I acknowledge the efforts made by the Honourable Minister and his agency, Climate Change and Development Authority, in making tremendous effort in identifying new domestic levies and fees to be charged on some of our emission sources. This new funding source will support the government and sector agencies to drive implementation of the Sustainable Development Goal number 13 roadmap. Although the government of PNG may take the lead on many of those actions, we will also need the resources, energy, commitment of our people, subnational governments, the private sector, our development partners, international funding mechanisms such as the Green Climate Change and civil society, amongst others, to ensure successful implementation. I shall reiterate the statement I made at New Zealand Institute of International Affairs. You need oxygen as much as I need oxygen out there in the world. Our biodiversity in PNG is second to none. 6% or 7% of the world's biodiversity is found in Papua New Guinea. The Pacific Blue Oceans must be kept in a healthy state. We must be pollution-free. And this can only happen when PNG, as the leading nation in the South Pacific, take an active way forward. And Papua New Guinea has taken that way forward by outlining actions to protect the 6 to 7% of the world's biodiversity and the third largest tropical rainforest that we have in this country, which I call as the lungs of Earth. I am pleased to see that the SDG 13 roadmap complements the National Oceans Policy, where we can work with different stakeholders to implement specific key actions areas on how to use, protect, and sustainably manage different aspects of the ocean. Viewers, with that being said, I, as Prime Minister of this beautiful country, now officially launched Papua New Guinea Sustainable Development Goal number 13 roadmap, an empowering response to challenges and opportunities posed by climate change. Thank you for watching, and God bless Papua New Guinea. God bless each and every one of you. And I'm extremely honored as Prime Minister to serve under this time to see the launch of this one, and I congratulate the Minister and the team at the Climate Change Office as well as UNDP for assisting us getting to this one. Congratulations everyone for this effort. I officially launched this. Okay. Okay, very good. PNG Sustainable. It's called 30 Actions by 2030, Papua New Guinea Sustainable Development Goal number 13 roadmap. Congratulations.
This virtual launching is a milestone event for Climate Change and Development Authority with the support of United Nations Development Programme, Papua New Guinea Country Office.
Trukai Sports is next with NSL matches updates. Here's Fidelis Sukina with the details.
Trukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. FC Bougainville yesterday claimed some redemption after their loss to Ley City FC last weekend. FC Bougainville managing to score 3 goals in the second half to win 3-0. But the win didn't come without any controversy, with the second goal having the ball outside of the corner kick area, which led to the goal.
Here in Papua New Guinea in 2015.
FC Bougainville suffered a humiliating loss last weekend at the hands of Ley City FC and were out for some redemption. And just 2 minutes into the match, tested Morobe United goalkeeper Jonathan Pole.
Chance for a shot! Good shot!
Morobe United, on the other hand, struggled to get a clear shot at goal.
Yanum beaten out.
FC Bougainville were moving well into goal-scoring range, but Pole was there to defuse their attempts.
What time for a good cross coming in. It might be a goal.
But the shots kept on coming.
For FC Bougainville.
Both teams struggled to find the back of the net in the first half, with the scores at 0-0 at halftime. FC Bougainville started off things well in the second half, and with just seconds into the half, Basil Jafari getting things done for FC Bougainville.
Opportunity, Basil Jafari.
Morobe United tried to make a comeback, but the team seemed to take things more lightly.
Close down, waiting for Bruce Tiampo. Bruce Tiampo.
FC Bougainville, on the other hand, had time to score.
Good ball delivered. Ready net!
Despite the goal being awarded, it was later revealed that Steven Inia, who took the corner kick, placed the ball outside the corner kick area. Morobe United have queried this, and the National Soccer League will have to come up with a decision on the matter. Morobe United struggled with their goal-scoring opportunities.
Yasasa.
Basil Jafari sealing the 3-0 win for FC Bougainville.
For Basil Jafari.
And football in PNG has a chance to have the national women's soccer team in the Women's World Cup in New Zealand in 2023. But firstly, Papua New Guinea Football Association has to have a premier women's competition in place. John Capinato, the president of PNGFA, has announced that there will be a Women's National Soccer League after the men's competition. That story wraps up Trukai Sports. Charmaine will be back with the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Port Moresby, occasionally cloudy with light drizzle and rain. Daru and Kerema, occasional rain and drizzle. Alotau, rain showers and drizzle. And Popondetta, cloudy with chance of occasional showers. In the Mamatsa region, Ley, cloudy with occasional rain, showers and drizzles. Madang, fine, then chance of afternoon showers. Wewak and Vanimo, fine, then possible afternoon showers. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, occasional rain showers. Kavieng, occasional rain showers and drizzle. Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka, occasional thundery showers. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, occasionally cloudy with chance of afternoon showers. Goroka and Kundiawa, mostly fine, then afternoon showers developing. And Mendi and Wabeg, cloudy with occasional showers.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that ends Sunday's bulletin. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant viewing, be safe, bye for now.